Well, it is absolutely amazing to see the powerful establishment forces absolutely freaking out at the prospect of there being just one big platform, just one digital public square, where people can speak freely as long as they're not breaking the law, where people can speak obvious truths in the face of the twisted standards of powerful establishment forces. That's why they hate Elon Musk. That's also why they hate Ron DeSantis. Here's the headline: Raw exercise of monopolistic power. DeSantis demands congressional action if Apple dumps Twitter from the App Store. That's right, Elon Musk has tweeted, Apple has also threatened to withhold Twitter from its App Store, but won't tell us why. Well, we all know why, don't we? He also tweeted this, this is a battle for the future of civilization. If free speech is lost even in America, tyranny is all that lies ahead. And of course, that is completely correct. Yeah, free speech isn't a threat to democracy. It's the lifeblood of it. Regardless of what Anderson Cooper or Joe Biden or Justin Trudeau tell you. But let's see what Ron DeSantis had to say.
There's reports that Apple is not allowing the protesters to use this airdrop function where they're trying to communicate. That obviously is providing aid and comfort to the CCP. And so you see that report, and that's very concerning. And then when you also hear reports that Apple is threatening to remove Twitter from the App Store because Elon Musk is actually opening it up for free speech and is restoring a lot of accounts that were unfairly and illegitimately suspended for putting out accurate information about COVID. That's like one of the main things that's being reinstated. So many things these experts were wrong at, and you had people on Twitter that were calling that out. And Twitter, the old regime in Twitter, their response was to try to just suffocate the dissent. And Elon Musk knows that's not a winning formula, and so he's providing free speech. And so if Apple responds to that by nuking them from the App Store, I think that would be a huge, huge mistake. And it would be a really raw exercise of monopolistic power that I think would merit a response from the United States Congress. And so don't be a vassal of the CCP on one hand and then use your corporate power in the United States on the other to suffocate Americans and try to suppress their right to express themselves. And so I'm glad things are changing at Twitter. And I know there's a lot of work to do with big tech generally, but this is big progress, and we're really happy that that is now happening.
But hold on a second. Isn't Apple this completely virtuous company? I mean, here's the Apple CEO Tim Cook. He says that banning hate and division is the right thing to do. Let's see, he advocates for a censorship of those who push hate and division. He said, history is full of examples when those with power and those who ought to have had good judgment instead look the other way. I believe that the most sacred thing that each of us is given is our judgment, our morality, our own innate desire to separate right from wrong. And then I guess to enforce that on the entire world, whether or not your own judgment or your own morality is utterly twisted. And we're going to get to that. Choosing to set that responsibility aside at a moment of trial is a sin. And Tim Cook wouldn't want to sin. But hold on a second. What was that Ron DeSantis was saying? He was talking about Apple disabling AirDrop in China while the population is protesting and rioting against its own authoritarian government. Well, it says here, Apple hobbled a crucial tool of dissent in China weeks before widespread protests broke out. Anti-government demonstrations will have to manage without a key communication vehicle. It says AirDrop, the file-sharing feature on iPhones and other Apple devices, has helped protesters in many authoritarian countries evade censorship. That's because AirDrop relies on direct connections between phones, forming a local network of devices that don't need the internet to communicate. Well, that would be handy when you have a totalitarian government oppressing you. Let's see, and apparently there was an update to this on November 9th, and hidden in that update was a change that only applies to iPhones sold in mainland China. What are the chances of that? So what was Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, saying? He was saying history is full of examples when those with power and those who ought to have good judgment instead look the other way. Well, in fairness, he's not looking the other way. He's actively collaborating. And you know what? It turns out there's a whole bunch of stuff that Apple does that aren't included for some reason in the speeches that Tim Cook gives. How about this? Violent protests erupt at iPhone factory in Zhengzhou amid pay complaints and C-19 containment measures. Says employees beaten and detained in protests over pay amid antivirus controls. Unrest at the Foxconn facility began in October when, after numerous outbreaks of the COOF, the facility implemented a closed-loop system whereby staff were forced to live and work at the facility without any contact with the outside world. Let's see, one person said, Foxconn never treats humans as humans. So that's workers at an iPhone factory. And let's just check back with Tim Cook here. He says that I believe the most sacred thing that each of us is given is our judgment, our morality, and our own innate desire to separate right from wrong. Choosing to set that responsibility aside at a moment of trial is a sin. I wonder if Tim Cook has a different definition of the word sin. How about this? Apple's Cobalt batteries are built on the backs of child labor in mines, causing severe physical harm to children and violating international standards of human rights. Child labor. But Tim Cook says here that we believe the future should belong to people who use technology to build a better, more inclusive, and more hopeful world. Well, yeah, I mean, aside from the child labor, obviously, I mean, Tim Cook needs that. But, you know, all that said, I guess that's not really what this is all about. This is about Apple making sure that Twitter is a place free of hate and division, not child exploitation. And we've already established that they need that. They need child labor. I mean, here's an article that says, Twitter ads suspended by top brands because of child exploitation. It's from September 29th. Top brands suspend ads due to Twitter's inability to detect and stop. You know, it's so disturbing. And we've gotten to such a disturbing world where that wasn't enough for Apple to threaten to take the app off the App Store, right? That's not what they're worried about. And this really does expose the whole charade, doesn't it? It's not about hate and division, it's just about narrative. That's it. There is a political narrative that they are pushing, a political and cultural narrative they are pushing. And they want to silence anybody who exposes that too much. Not to mention the fact they probably would like to be able to cancel all the people who talk about all of the evil things that Apple itself does. It is just about control. And let's end this by going back to this tweet from Elon Musk. This is a battle for the future of civilization. If free speech is lost, even in America, tyranny is all that lies ahead. And he's right. And Ron DeSantis is right. And it looks like maybe, just maybe, the tide is starting to turn. Anyway, please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.